This is QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studios on Caraba Avenue. I'm Umutu Gajaga and thank you for joining us. First, here are the main news headlines. Malik Jones, one of the most recognizable voices in Gambian broadcasting, has died. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the International Development Research Center, is initiating a 3-day training program for religious education teachers on comprehensive health education. 125 farmers from 5 communities in the West Coast region are being trained in compost making and business development in Makumbaya and Banjulinding. In international news, Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni opened the Italy-Africa Summit on Monday, aimed at unveiling Italy's development plan for Africa and migration issues. And in sports news, officials of the Gambia Secondary School Sports Association warned that schools caught cheating or fielding ineligible athletes in the National Inter-Schools Athletics Championship will face serious consequences. Those were the news headlines, and now the news in detail. Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is QTV News. We start with some sad news. Distinguished Gambian broadcaster Malik Jones, one of the most recognizable voices in Gambian broadcasting, has died. In a career spanning decades, he had variously been an announcer, producer, senior producer, principal producer, and briefly Director General of the Gambia Radio and Television Services and Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Information and Communication Infrastructure. Mamadou Mbodj looks back on his life and career.
Among the many highlights of a career that began in 1980 were star turns on the 2010 World Cup in South Africa as a commentator with the BBC and at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar for Qatari Radio. His inimitable, strong baritone voice was the gold standard in broadcasting and endeared him to many listeners. Having joined what was then called Radio Gambia and starting as an announcer, he rose through the ranks, culminating in his appointment as Director General of GRTS, the successor to Radio Gambia. In an interview with QTV, the president of the Gambia Press Union, Mohamed Esba, expressed his sadness over the death of a man who played a significant role in journalism. Malik Jones's death has left a void on the media landscape of the Gambia, Mr. Ba added. Jones's passion for journalism was manifest in his uncompromising insistence on quality, as attested by those who worked with him, and he was esteemed by the younger generation of journalists because he was a constant voice of encouragement, driving those who came under his tutelage to reach the heights of competence, excellence. His former colleague, who worked with him for many years, Esa Jallo, the acting director of television programs at GRTS, remembers a dynamic man who had a presence in any company with self-confidence galore, which perhaps underpinned his versatility. One moment he was anchoring a program on social issues or interviewing a prominent person, and the next, commentating on a football match. He hosted election nights on TV and was the master of ceremony of choice on state functions and big special events. He was always brilliant at what he did because he always showed interest in his subject, conducted his research, and unfailingly strove for high-quality work. These are the key takeaways from Malik Jones' life, according to Esa Jallo, that all budding journalists must assimilate into their work ethos. For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mbodj.
Well, as a young journalist, I will join the rest of the Gambian journalism fraternity to say we say condolences to his family and may his soul rest in peace. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the International Development Research Center, is initiating a 3-day training program for religious education teachers on comprehensive health education. The aim is to equip these teachers with the knowledge to effectively deliver comprehensive health education in schools. Lena E. Igweniba reports.
Recognizing the significant influence of religious leaders in society, the training targets Muslim and Christian teachers. Over 3 days, the curriculum covers sexual and reproductive health, including topics like anatomy and physiology, puberty, reproduction, menstruation, ovulation, pregnancy prevention, unsafe abortion, contraceptive utilization, and sexual and reproductive health law, among others. Momodu Jang, Director of Curriculum Research, Evaluation and Development at MOPSI, emphasizes education as a vital tool to address gaps in comprehensive health education.
This group is a critical group that can play a very significant role in trying to address what the gaps are. If we fail to address comprehensive health education related issues in schools, the consequences are going to be, we will see a rise in teenage pregnancy, baby dumping, early marriage, the spread of STIs and HIV/AIDS, and all these have, a drawback in our delivery of education in this country.
Fibian Aina Grant Sanya, Principal Investigator, Comprehensive Health Education, explains the importance of comprehensive and sexual health awareness.
Both the Bible and the Quran, they are not silent when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to sexual matters. Therefore, teaching it or teachers needs to talk about them because they teach moral lessons to students. Students, when they have doubts, they go to them. They believe that when the religious education teachers teach them about sexuality or about morals, they believe to understand it because at the end they will all prepare for what we call after education. That's when it comes to like marriage. But some of them, they are already indulged in marital life without even marrying.
For many years, discussions about sexuality education in the Gambia, as in other countries, have stirred controversy, prompting parents and religious leaders to avoid such conversations. Teachers like Patrick S. Williams from Charles Jau Memorial Academy and Aliu Toure from Daddy Job Comprehensive School, leveraging their influence, underscored the advantages of the training.
They're going to get a different kind of approach of teaching, more improved one, because what they are used to will be somehow added on, because bringing such a topic like this will also be a surprise to them. But bringing it to them will also help them to guide them on the moral standard of who they are and what they can become tomorrow.
Our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, Sinfani iza salahu salahun nasa jami'an wa iza fasadu fasadun nasa jami'an. These are two people or two groups that if they are good, all the mankind will be good. Who are those two? The religious people, meaning the scholars and the leaders.
A well-informed population on comprehensive health education contributes to a healthier nation, promoting healthier lifestyle choices, responsible sexual behavior, and heightened awareness of mental health. This, in turn, will lead to a more productive society with reduced healthcare costs. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena Iigwenyiba.
125 farmers from 5 communities in the West Coast region are being trained in compost making and business development by Agro Incubation Hub funded by USAID through the Yali RLC West Africa Community Engagement Fund. Lena Iigwenyiba witnessed the training in Makumbaya and Banjulinding, and this is our report.
The cost-effective, climate-smart compost making project comprised farmers in the communities of Banjulinding, Abuko, Makumbaya, Gunju, and Madwar in the West Coast region. Mohamed Koka, founder of Agro Incubation Hub AIH, outlines the 3 compost making techniques being taught to farmers to shift from subsistence to commercial farming, fostering environmental awareness and sustainable practices.
Realizing that majority of these farmers are faced with numerous challenges, especially their ways of farming, that is the utilization of chemical fertilizers. We decided to come up with an approach by training them on how to actually manufacture their own organic compost using domestic and environmental ways. In fact, this compost that we are training them is on 3 different types of compost, which is the biochar compost, which is actually behind me, and the bokashi composting, and the natural composting. We are also training them on business development using the Farmer Business School methodology, which I am a licensed trainer on, so that they can be able to take farming as a business.
Yahya Kejalo, the trainer for the compost making project, highlights how the project will create lasting impact in the communities.
although they have experience on such of them, but like it was in a different way around. But we have come up with some measures that they have never learned before, because what they told is like all these wasted are waste. They are not useful anymore. And we come up with this idea to tell them that all these waste things you are seeing are not wasted. They can be used into a purpose of your own benefits. So they have seen that they are now adopting the system, and they are now loving the adaptation and life. They have been committed to the work.
Anta Marta Mendy from Makumbaya Farm and Hajayama Baji from Banjulinding Farm emphasized the ease and effectiveness of this compost making, coupled with valuable insights on becoming smart agripreneurs.
So rose ndominum de dawe ak system bu ñu gay jangal legi.
Before the project, we used to put in a lot of work when we watered our crops. However, the flow of the water ran wasn't suitable. But now, the system they have taught us has brought about a lot of changes. We also learned about business. When we harvest, how can we sell our goods? We have learned about farming, fertilizing, and a combination of so many things. A farmer involved in garden works needs fertilizer, but the one we used to buy was very expensive. However, when these people sold their idea to us, we bought it, and when they showed us how it works, the initiative is truly amazing. We are happy, the work is easy and less stressful, and I know the compost will work.
Agro Incubation Hub AIH is a youth-led non-profit organization dedicated to cultivating the next generation of commercial climate-smart agripreneurs. Their mission is to empower small-scale farmers, enabling them to combat climate change and view farming as a sustainable business, not just a livelihood. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena Igwenyiba.
The end of that report takes us to a commercial break, and when we return, we still have some more local, international, and sports news stories. Do stay tuned.
QCell brings you the future with our ultimate bundles. Enjoy the best voice and data bundle plans in one package. Get unlimited data packages with flexible validity and enjoy what true internet feels like. Get 30 minutes of on-net and off-net calls with 5 gigabytes of data for just $350. Or get bigger bundle packages from 10 gigabytes to 20 gigabytes with over 100 on-net and off-net voice calls and enjoy the fastest internet speed in the Gambia. You can also buy 1-day, 3-day or even 7-day packages and enjoy unlimited data bundles with uncapped speeds. Just dial *343# today and experience the limitless capabilities of the QCell network. *343# should be your favorite code to dial now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, we innovate, others follow.
Looking for the perfect place to promote your product or place your advert? Look no further than QTV. We are the premier destination for businesses looking to connect with Gambian audiences and beyond. At QTV, we offer a variety of advertising solutions to suit your needs and budget. With our diverse range of programming, you can be sure that your ad will reach a broad and engaged audience. From our popular news broadcast to our exciting music and entertainment programming, QTV has something for everyone. QTV, the premier destination for advertising in the Gambia. Contact us today and let us help you reach your audience.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. This is QTV News. Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni opened the Italy-Africa Summit on Monday, aimed at unveiling Italy's development plan for Africa, which the Italian government hopes will stem migration flows, diversify sources of energy, and forge a new relationship between Europe and Africa. Julden Jai has more.
24 African leaders, top European Union and United Nations officials and representatives from international lending institutions were in Rome for the event. Billed as the Italia-Africa, a Bridge for Common Growth Summit, it is also the first major event of Italy's Group of 7 presidency. Italy, which has long been a landing point for irregular migrants from Africa, is promoting its development plan as a way to create security and economic conditions that will create jobs in Africa and discourage its young people from making dangerous migrations across the Mediterranean. Overall, 155,754 people arrived on Italian soils last year, up from 103,846 in 2022, with more than half of them coming from Africa. In her opening statement, Giorgia Meloni outlined a series of pilot projects in individual countries that she said would enable Africa to become a major exporter of energy to Europe to help wean off its dependency on Russian energy following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Meloni told the summit, "We want to free up African energy to guarantee younger generations a right which to date has been denied. Because here in Europe, we talk a lot about the right to immigrate, but we rarely talk about guaranteeing the right to not to be forced to immigrate." Meloni, Italy's first hard-right leader since the end of the World War II, has made curbing migration a priority of her government. However, her first year in power saw a big jump in the numbers of irregular migrants arriving on Italy's soils. The Meloni plan has not received a universal welcome. The African Union Commission chairman, Musa Faki Mahamat, told the summit that African countries would have liked to have been consulted before Italy rolled out its plan. "We need to pass from words to deed," Faki, the former Prime Minister of Chad, told the summit. "We cannot be happy with promises that are never maintained." As the summit got underway, some opposition parliamentarians planned a counter-conference at Italy's lower chamber of parliament to criticize the plan as a neo-colonial empty box that again seeks to exploit Africa's natural resources. Alongside the plan announced at the summit, Meloni's government has signed controversial deals with some countries to try to mitigate the migration burden on Italy. These include an EU-backed deal with Tunisia, aims to curb departures from economic development projects and legal migration opportunities, while a bilateral deal with Albania sets up the creation of centers in Albania to process asylum applications for Italy-bound migrants rescued at sea. For QTV News, I am Julde Njai.
Also in international news, in a briefing to the UN Secretary of the UN Security Council on Monday, the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has reported that war crimes have been committed by Sudan's army and its rival paramilitary force since conflict broke out between the two warring factions in April. The ICC Chief Prosecutor has described the situation as dire and one which demands the Security Council's attention more than ever. Mamadou Lamin Choi has the details.
The seemingly never-ending power struggle between the Sudanese army and one of the country's paramilitary forces, the Rapid Support Forces, is resulting in a deepening humanitarian crisis. In July last year, the ICC launched a probe in Sudan to assess possible war crimes violations in Darfur, which is in Sudan's western region. More than 5 months later, Karim Khan, the ICC's chief prosecutor, is briefing the UN Security Council on the evidence gathered in his investigation.
Based on the work of my office, it's my clear finding, my clear assessment, that there are grounds to believe that presently Rome Statute crimes are being committed in Darfur by both the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces and affiliated groups.
Offenses under the Rome Statute of the ICC include crimes against humanity, genocide, war crimes, and the crime of aggression. The Rapid Support Forces and its allies have also been accused by international observers of massacring members of an African ethnic group in Western Darfur, which indicates a potential repetition of the genocide that happened in the same place 2 decades ago.
And I can confirm to the Council that we are collecting a very significant body of material, information and evidence that is relevant to those particular crimes.
The two warring rivals have so far plunged Sudan in a catastrophe, which after initial reporting has gained limited international attention on the mass killings of civilians and destructions of infrastructure, and has led to what the United Nations calls, quote-unquote, the world's largest human displacement crisis. The UN reports that at least 12,000 people had been killed by the end of 2023, and that the actual death toll could be higher in the 8-month-long conflict. The Sudan conflict has spiraled out of control, leaving nearly half of the 49 million population requiring aid, with more than 7.5 million displaced.
Without justice for past atrocities, the inescapable truth is that we condemn the current generation. And if we do nothing now, we condemn future generations to suffering the same fate. It can't be a case of play, rewind, and repeat when the people that are seeing the ugly pictures are those affected the most.
Previously, the International Criminal Court had filed charges of genocide against Sudanese leaders, including the former president Omar Hassan al-Bashir, who was deposed in a 2019 coup. The ICC has opened at least 6 cases and issued 7 arrest warrants in connection with crimes committed in a previous conflict in Darfur. However, the only one to have reached trial so far is the case of Abdel al-Rahman, a former leader of the Janjaweed militia, which had been rebranded to RSF, who had voluntarily surrendered to the ICC in 2020. Mr. Abdul al-Rahman is suspected of 31 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity allegedly committed in Darfur, Sudan. His trial before the ICC is still ongoing and is due to resume in February 2024. Mohamed Lamin Choy, QTV News.
The end of that story takes us to sports news. Officials of the Secondary Schools Sports Association warned on Tuesday that schools caught cheating or fielding ineligible athletes in the National Inter-Schools Athletics Championship will be seriously penalized. They were speaking at a press briefing ahead of the Regional School Championship, which will get underway on Friday. Ansumana Esonyasi reports.
Over 170 schools nationwide are expected to participate in this year's finals. Declaring their preparedness to stage this year's edition, the competition's recently appointed chairman Abdul Karim C discloses the lifting of the ban on schools who were penalized for cheating at the last edition. This, he says, is to give a fresh start to all schools. However, he says any school caught cheating will face serious consequences, as cheating is against the spirit of fair play. Mr. C went on to reveal a slight change in the competition's format, including the number of participating athletes for each region.
When we left last year, there were some challenges. Some schools were suspended. When I was appointed officially by the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, Permanent Secretary, on the 1st of September 2023, I took the decision of closing the chapter, opening everybody, giving everybody the opportunity to participate. As a result, the schools that were suspended, the suspension was lifted, and every school is given the opportunity going to 2024 so that we start fresh.
Meanwhile, he also disclosed that the committee recently undertook a nationwide tour to various regions as they prepare to host the regional championships ahead of the national finals, which will be held after Ramadan.
Make adjustments this time round because we want to standardize our activities. Previously, we will have athletes identified in the regions. Each of the 4 centers are giving 2 qualifiers, meaning we'll have 8 athletes coming to the finals. We were doing it before, but we need to correct ourselves and also do what internationally is happening, in the sense that our athletes now will qualify and come to the finals and go into semi-finals before going to the finals. We want to avoid a situation where Abdul Karim qualified from Basse and is supposed to be one of the 8 athletes on the track. We go into the final, Abdul Karim is not around one way or the other, he has an injury or something else, and he's on you cannot replace the person. In athletics, those things don't happen. You have to go through the heats.
Also stressing the committee's uncompromising stance on cheating or fielding ineligible athletes, the president of the Secondary School Sports Association, Ismaila Cisse, calls on participating schools to abide by the competition's rules, adding that schools caught cheating will receive a hefty fine and possibly a 2-year suspension. Meanwhile, He shares the dates for the various regional finals.
These rules are not meant to just witch hunt schools. We are not witch hunting any school, but we are making sure that our competition is clean. We are making sure that the right students that are in schools, those that we call our students, are the ones that definitely we want them to participate, because we want to have the right ages.
Meanwhile, officials also revealed that ticket prices for this year's championship have been increased from $25 to $50. And the prizes for senior secondary schools are as follows. First position will receive $100,000, runners-up $50,000, and $25,000 for third place. While winners, runners-up, and third place schools will receive $50,000, $25,000, and $10,000 respectively for the junior secondary school category. Answane Sonyase for KTV News.
Now, before we end this news bulletin, here's a recap of our main news headlines. Malik Jones, one of the most recognizable voices in Gambian broadcasting, has died. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the International Development Research Center, is initiating a 3-day training program for religious education teachers on comprehensive health education. 125 farmers from 5 communities in the West Coast region are being trained in compost making and business development in Macumbaya and Banjulinding. In international news, Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni opened the Italy-Africa Summit on Monday, aimed at unveiling Italy's development plan for Africa amid migration issues. And in sports news, officials of the Secondary Schools Sports Association warned that schools caught cheating or fielding ineligible athletes in the National Inter-Schools Athletics Championship face serious consequences. That's all we have time for in this news bulletin. Thank you very much for watching, but don't forget to join us again at 10 for another bulletin.